This video will show you how to replace the power steering pump on a GMC Sierra 2500 with a 6-liter engine. This will be located along the front driver's side of your engine. Let's get into it. Okay friend, let's get started on our job. Now the first thing we have to do is make our way down along the driver's side of the engine, and this is where we can see our power steering pump reservoir. Remove any debris from around the cap, remove the cap. We're going to remove as much fluid from inside the system as possible. To remove the fluid, I'm going to be using a fluid extractor. Once you've removed the fluid, let's just go ahead and reinstall the cap for now. Now that we have removed as much fluid from inside of the power steering pump as possible, let's continue on looking down in this area at our power steering lines. Now we do have two rubber hoses that lead to the power steering reservoir. These are held in place with squeezable clamps. But we do also have a pressure line leading to the back side of the pump. This is held in place with a 16mm fitting. Let's start there. Now along the back side of the pump here, we can see where the line goes in. We'll be using a 16mm for this fitting, and we have our collection receptacle under here. There we are. We'll let that drain into our collection receptacle. Okay, we can go ahead and pull that line out of there. Just a quick inspection to confirm it's still reusable. It's a good idea to at least replace that sealing O-ring. For now, we're going to set it aside. Prior to removing the hoses, we want to make sure we know exactly where each one of them does go to. So I'm just going to make a clear marking as a reference. We can start removing each of those hoses. As you remove them, just keep in mind there could still be fluid in this area, just like that line along the backside. We're going to squeeze the clamp, we'll slide it out of the way, remove the hose from each portion of that power steering reservoir. To squeeze these clamps, you can use some pliers as necessary. There we are. A thorough inspection of the hose to make sure it's soft and pliable, not torn, worn, or damaged. If it is, you're going to want to replace it. This one looks fine. We'll let that drain into our collection receptacle. You can tell that this clamp will have to be replaced. Just get it off of here. There we are. Just as before, a thorough inspection of that hose to confirm it's still in good usable order. I'm going to be replacing this clamp, so I'm just going to dispose of it now. Now we're going to start doing some digging so we can remove that power steering pump assembly. Now for that, we're going to start up along the top of the engine. We have a plastic engine cover. Take hold of the front of the engine cover. We're going to lift it up and pull it away from the rearward side. Just a quick inspection of that cover. We'll set it aside for now. Now we can see our plastic intake leading to our throttle body. It's held to the throttle body with an 8mm headed clamp. You can also use a flat blade screwdriver. We're loosening this just enough that we can start pulling it away from our throttle body. Now when you do go to pull this, we have an alignment tab in the center of this intake system. For that, just gently lift up, pull straight forward. It is starting to separate. This is what we want. Let's focus along here next. If you were looking under here, you can see where our upper coolant hose is connected in. We're just going to try to break this free. I'm using a small trim tool. You can use a flat blade screwdriver. Just make your way underneath and gently pry it apart. Now that I have that separated, let's make our way back over here again. We do have a vent hose that leads up to this. It's very simple. Just take hold of it and pull it away. There it is. Quick inspection, of course. This is looking good. Now we'll continue following this all the way over towards that air filter housing. In this area, we have another 8mm headed clamp. Go ahead and loosen that. Now we can remove the air inlet tube from the upper air filter housing. Just go ahead and take hold of each of them, slide them apart. We'll take hold of this. We should be able to rock it out of position. Pulling it towards our fan shroud. We'll lift it up and out of there. Now it's time to remove our serpentine belt. Prior to removing this, just pay attention to the routing of it. You're going to find it goes over some pulleys and under others. Of course, we will have a diagram for the installation process on that. Let's go ahead and make our way over towards the tensioner that's on the passenger side front of the engine. For that tensioner, you would want to use a 15 millimeter for the center bolt here. We're going to be turning this clockwise to release tension from the belt. While holding that, we can remove the belt from any one of the pulleys. Now we're just pulling this out and away from our power steering pump pulley down at the bottom there. As we bring this up, just go ahead and pay attention to the belt itself. We can see the ribbed portion. If it looks like it's dry rotted, cracked, or damaged in any way, you're going to want to replace the belt. This one looks good, so I'm just going to set it aside for now. Now, looking along the front of the engine compartment, we can see our fan shroud. We have our upper radiator hose. This is attached to it in this area. It just has a small plastic clamp. I like to pull that right out of place. For that, I'm just using a trim tool, gently pry. We can lift this up as needed. Now, as you make your way towards the passenger side, you can see that we do also have another hose up against this. This one's fairly simple as well. Just pull it out of place. Now, along either side of the fan shroud, you're going to find that you have a 10 millimeter headed bolt, which we will be removing each of the two. But first, as you make your way down along the side of the fan shroud, you're going to find that you have two push clips on each side that need to be removed. To remove the push clip, I'm using my trim tool. I'm pulling out the center, and that's unlocking it. After I have the center pulled up, the rest of it should come right out of place. Go ahead and give each one of those clips a close inspection as you continue on. Replace them as necessary. We'll do the same on the other side, and then we'll get to those bolts. With both sides push clips out of place, we're up along the top for our 10 millimeter headed mounting bolts next. Now we can take that upper radiator hose, slide it towards the rear, and we're going to take hold of the fan shroud, lift it up and out of here. We're moving along to removing the lower fan shroud next. Prior to removing the lower fan shroud, you're going to find along each side you have lines that go along it. We're going to dislodge the plastic bracket from the fan shroud. Just go ahead and pry it out of place. Let's be careful not to break anything. Now, what you'll find is sometimes the entire clip will come out, other times the clip itself just comes unlocked. Either way, as long as the lines are broken free from it, that's all we need. I've done one side, I'm going to go over to the other side and repeat this exact same process. Once you have both sides broken free, we're reaching down to take hold of that fan shroud. We'll lift it up, start rolling it towards the engine, and pull it up and out of here. Go ahead and set that aside. Locate your battery on the passenger side of the engine compartment. We're going to be disconnecting our negative battery terminal. You can see it down in this area. We're going to have to use a 10 millimeter to loosen the mounting nut just enough that we can remove the terminal end from the battery. We'll set that aside so it's making no contact. With that negative battery terminal disconnected, we're looking at the top of the alternator next. We're going to start by removing our wiring harnesses from it. Now we have one with an electrical connector, and then we also have one that has a protective boot on it. Let's start with the larger wire here. For this, I'm just removing that protective boot, and that exposes a 10 millimeter mounting nut. Go ahead and remove the mounting nut and the wire from the area. Just give them a quick inspection and we'll set them aside. With that wire out of the way, we'll continue on to our electrical connector next. Squeezable tab along the rearward side, so I'm just going to squeeze that in and we'll pull that out of place. A quick inspection for corrosion, if you see any, needs to be dealt with. This looks fine, so I'm going to set it aside. The next thing that you would do would be to continue on to removing this entire bracket, which holds our power steering pump, our idler pulley, and our alternator. Now this whole thing is going to weigh a lot, so to help alleviate some of that weight, we're going to remove the alternator from the bracket. It's held in place with two 15mm headed mounting bolts. Both of those bolts are the same. You do not need to worry about mixing them up. Continuing on, we're going to have to carefully pry the alternator out of place. If you are looking along either side of the alternator, you're going to find that it has metal bushings. These metal bushings are compressed inward towards the alternator when you do tighten the hardware. So for now, let's just go ahead and pry this up and out of here. Take hold of that alternator and remove it from the vehicle. Now, as we make our way down along the bracket, if you look along the back side of the power steering pump reservoir assembly here, we're actually going to have to remove this mounting bolt. You can see where my pry bar is located. Now, this is holding a small bracket which is attached to that power steering pump housing. Use a 15mm to remove that mounting bolt. At this point, we're making our way along the front of the assembly next. So for the first bolt, we're going to fully remove it. Just give it a quick inspection and start it back in a couple threads. That'll prevent this from falling while we continue on to the next pieces of mounting hardware. Now, as we make our way all the way down to the bottom of this bracket, we can see another 15mm headed mounting bolt. I marked it in yellow for you. Let's get this out of here. Now we can move around the bracket as needed. Let's hold on to that while we remove the mounting bolt that we started back in a couple threads so we can get this entire thing out of here, and we're going to start removing that power steering pump pulley. Now I've brought the power steering pump with the bracket over to a bench so we can start removing that power steering pump pulley. You're going to want to have the removal tool for this. Now, as far as the removal tool, you're going to find that the adapters come in two different ways here. You can either have it so it's a smaller diameter or a larger diameter. That's for the area that goes around the power steering pump pulley. This would be the smaller diameter type. Now, as I bring this over, we also need to make sure that we install our driver. This does have a flange, which is going to go on the inside of this, so I'm just bringing that in. I'm going to make sure that I have plenty of slack here. Now, of course, we do need to hold these together, so we have our coupler. That's just going to slide right over. Continuing on, we're going to hold the center driver. I'm pivoting this portion counterclockwise, which is going to start pulling our adapters this way, which is also pulling the pump pulley away from the pump. This is pressing up against the pump shaft itself. This part can be a little bit difficult. Once it breaks free, typically it gets a little easier. Now that's the sound we're looking for, the pulley breaking free from the shaft. Let's continue on. Once this gets easier, you can switch to a ratcheting wrench as necessary. Now let's just pause on this. I want to make sure that this is actually pulling the pulley away, so I'm going to pivot it so we can have a closer look. Now, as we look deep inside this area, I can see my power steering pump pulley shaft. This is exactly what we want to see. Remove our tool. A thorough inspection of the power steering pump pulley. We will be cleaning this and thoroughly inspecting it, but for now, let's just go ahead and set it aside. With that power steering pump pulley out of the way, we can clearly gain access to our 3 15mm bolts that are holding the pump assembly to this bracket. Let's remove all 3 of these. Now that I have that one inspected, I'm just going to start it back in a couple threads. Let's have a close look at the back side of this. There's one more bracket that must be removed and transferred over. There's 2 15mm mounting nuts holding this in place, so let's go ahead and remove the pair. Now we can go ahead and remove that bracket. We will be reusing this on the brand new pump. Go ahead and clean it and inspect it. We'll set it aside. There it is, friend. Let's prepare our brand new power steering pump for installation. For this, we're looking along the backside first. Now, looking along the backside here, what we're focusing on is this lower mounting stud. The stud has to be perfect for the bracket, so it sits flush. You're going to find on the brand new pump, it's a little different than the original. We're going to swap it over using an 18mm. Let's start with the original power steering pump assembly. Remove the lower stud from the brand new power steering pump assembly. Now we've got that stud from the original pump assembly. Start it in by hand so you're sure it's not cross-threaded into the wrong position, and tighten it up. Double check to make sure that's secured in place. As for the original power steering pump assembly, you do not need to reassemble it. You can go ahead and set this aside for disposal. We have our bracket. Let's make sure we have it in the proper orientation. It's going to slide directly over this area. Start on each of your 2 15mm headed mounting nuts and tighten those as well. Make sure the bracket's properly secured in place. Now, while we're along the back side of this, we can remove our protective plug where our line is going to go into. You can use a flat blade screwdriver if necessary. Make sure you get nothing inside of this port as we continue on. We'll look along the side where we had our 2 rubber hoses on the original. Let's go ahead and take off those protective plugs as well. Now, looking from the forward side, we have the area that our power steering pump pulley would sit into. Let's go ahead and remove that shaft protector. Now we can get our power steering pump assembly in place. We're bringing it along the back side of the bracket. We need to align our mounting bolt ports here. Once you feel as though you have them aligned, continue on to all 3 of your mounting bolts. You're going to start in each of them. Once all of them are started in by hand, snug them up and torque them to 37 foot-pounds. I've got my torque wrench set to 37 foot-pounds. All 3 of our pieces of mounting hardware are torqued in position. We're going to continue on with reinstalling our power steering pump pulley. First, we need to clean and inspect it. Now, I've cleaned and inspected my power steering pulley to confirm there's no miscellaneous debris that's going to cause an issue. Prior to installing that power steering pump pulley, let's use some anti-seize along the smooth shafted area. You don't need very much here. This is going to help as a lubricant. Now continuing on, you're going to have a power steering pump pulley installer tool. Now this does have a small bearing on it. We need to make sure we have the proper adapter that's going to go directly in the center of this shaft. It would essentially just screw in like this, but of course first we have to install the pulley on here. Just get it lined up on there. You're not going to be able to press this in by hand, that's what this tool is for. We'll turn the driver in until it stops. Just want to make sure that that is snug. Once you have the center driver installed fully into the power steering pump pulley, you're going to take this portion and press it up against the power steering pump pulley. At this point, we're going to be holding this area of our tool, and we're going to turn this area. When we turn this, it's going to start pressing the pulley up against the power steering pump. Once it's completely bottomed out, we'll double check to make sure it's properly secured in place. Okay, right there feels as though it's bottomed out. I'm just going to attempt to take it a little bit further here. We want to make sure it's on there nice and tightly. Can remove our tool. That's just unscrewing. Continuing on, you want to make sure that you're flush along this area. If the pulley is sticking out and away, you have not pressed it in far enough. This is perfect. Let's get it over to the vehicle. Over at the vehicle, before we start installing that power steering pump with the bracket, let's have a close look at the engine. We have our upper mounting points here. We're just going to go ahead and clean that down. We'll make our way all the way down to the bottom mounting point after that. I'm just going to use a wire brush for this. We'll make our way all the way down to the bottom. Okay, all this looks good. All of these mounting bolts will look the same. You do not need to worry about mixing them up. Now, as we start bringing this down in position, we have all 4 of our mounting bolts. I'm going to start in each of my 3 bolts up along the top, make my way all the way down to the bottom. After they're all started in, snug them up and then torque them to 37 foot-pounds. They're all started in. Let's go ahead and snug them up. All 4 of the forward mounting bolts are tight. Now let's make our way along the back side of the pump for our shorter mounting bolt. This is holding the bracket that's attached to our power steering pump to the engine. Start it in, snug that up, and torque it to 37 foot-pounds as well. Up along the top of that bracket, it's time to prepare to install our alternator. I had mentioned that there's 2 bushings up along the top. We're going to use some penetrant on these. Shouldn't need very much there. A small hammer. We're going to tap these outward towards the front of the bracket. For good measure, you can use some anti-seize along the outer portion of the bushing, so when we press this through, when we do tighten our bolts, we'll have anti-seize in between the bushings and the bracket itself. Let's go ahead and install that alternator. That's going to slide down into the bracket, right along where those bushings are. Once you have it rested in place, continue on to your 2 mounting bolts. We're going to start them in, snug them up. The torque for each of these will be 41 foot-pounds. As we tighten these, you should see the bushing move. Let's make our way to the wiring next. As for the wiring, let's pay attention to the larger power wire here. We need to make sure we clean both sides of this so we have good contact. I'm just going to use some fine sandpaper. Just go ahead and give that a good scuffing along each side. Make sure there's no miscellaneous corrosion. Slide that. Once you have that in place, continue on with your 10mm mounting nut. Start it on, bottom it out. The torque for that is 80 inch-pounds. It's not very much. Go ahead and protect that area with your cover. Now it's time for our electrical connector. You can either take this from along the top of the wire or under it, whichever way is best for you. I'm just going to go under this. Line it up, press it in. We're listening for an audible click, a light tug to confirm everything's secured here. Prior to installing the serpentine belt, just make sure you clean and inspect all pulleys as necessary so there's no miscellaneous debris. After that, let's install the serpentine belt. That belt's going to go over the water pump smooth pulley there in the center, underneath my power steering pump pulley. Let's double check down along the bottom there. When installing your serpentine belt, it's important to make sure you're around each and every one of your pulleys properly. If you look at some of the pulleys, you're going to find that they have several grooves on them. That's for the grooved side of the belt. If you're off by even one groove or tooth, it's going to cause an issue with the belt or even something else. So just make sure everything's properly aligned as we continue on. Checking everything here. Now with that properly in place, let's continue on with our lower fan shroud. We're going to have to roll this into position carefully around our radiator. As I bring this down, we're paying attention along each side of the radiator. You can see exactly where that needs to slide into. Line it up, press it in on each side. After that, we're continuing on with our lines. Now for this, we're just going to carefully flex the lines as needed so we can line them up with their corresponding ports on the bracket. The direction of this bracket really does not matter. We just want to make sure it can latch in. This side is properly secured. Go ahead and do the same exact thing on the other side of the shroud assembly. Now it's time for the upper fan shroud. Let's carefully get this in position, sliding it down along the radiator and aligning it with the lower shroud. Now as I look down along the side, I can see my alignment tab. We need to make sure that this aligns. We're pressing it in. I can see where both of my ports are aligned as well. We can install our 2 push clips on one side, align the other side, do the same exact thing over there. When you install these push clips, drive in the outer portion and lock them in by pressing in the center. Up along the top of the fan shroud, we have our upper mounting bolts. Just two 10mm bolts here. Start them in, snug them up. Double check to make sure that's secured in place. Along the top passenger side, we have the area for our small hose. Go ahead and line that up, press it in. Now it's time for the upper radiator hose. Just go ahead and line that up. We're going to press it into the fan shroud right in this port right here. Now it's time for the air inlet tube, leading from the air filter housing over towards the throttle body. Bring this down into position here. Let's connect that to the upper air filter housing. We'll press it in as far as possible and tighten the 8mm headed clamp. Double check, make sure that's secured in place. While we can still move this around, let's go ahead and secure our upper hose to this. We can see where it needs to press into. Just line it up, press it together. Now up along the top area here, we need to make sure that this is pressed all the way up against our throttle body as far as possible. Before tightening this clamp, we're also going to pay attention in this area. There's a small alignment tab that comes up and it should fit through this rubber bushing. There we are, I can see that. This is pressed in. Make sure it's nice and tight. Attempt to remove it from the throttle body. It should not slide out of place. Now we have our tube on the passenger side of this. Line it up, press it in, make sure it's secured in place as well. Let's install the engine cover next. Looking along the top of the intake, we can see that we do have two alignment tabs. If you were looking at the bottom of the engine cover, you do have two rubber grommets for those. If you were looking along the far rearward side of the intake, you can see that we have that hooked area. That's where the plastic engine cover will slide into first. Once you feel as though you have it aligned, press it down, make sure it's secured in place. Now we can start connecting our power steering hoses. On my application, I had to replace my clamp, so I have a brand new one here. We'll take this and slide it into place directly onto that power steering pump. You want to make sure you press it on there as far as possible. Now, if you were looking at this line that's coming out of the power steering pump, you can see that it actually has a small ridge. That's where the end of our rubber hose needs to sit against. It's like this on each one of these. Once you have it pressed in position, just go ahead and make sure that the clamp is holding it there properly. Let's go ahead and do the same thing for the next one. Got our next one here. Line this up. Under the hood, we're along the passenger side. It's time to reconnect our negative battery terminal. We're going to take the terminal end, slide it all the way down onto the battery as far as possible, and tighten our 10mm mounting nut. Make sure it's on there as far as possible. Double check to make sure that's secured in place. Now just one last quick inspection in this area prior to filling our power steering fluid. Everything is good here, so I'm going to go ahead and remove my power steering reservoir cap by turning it counterclockwise. We can remove that. Now as we look at our power steering cap, it has a small dipstick along the bottom, and you can see where it says full cold as you rotate it. It has a small line. We're going to fill the power steering reservoir with the manufacturer's specified fluid up to that line. Use a small funnel. Now we're not trying to fill all the way up to the top of this reservoir, so we will have to check this several times. All right. So the fluid level is a little high here. That's okay. I can make adjustments as necessary. For now, I'm just lightly closing this. At this point, let's make our way into the passenger compartment. Now that we have our power steering cap in place, go ahead and safely raise and support the front of the vehicle so both front wheels are off the ground. Once you've completed that, make your way into the passenger compartment. Now, while we're in the vehicle, we need to make sure that we've fully charged our Hydro Boost accumulator. This is part of the power steering system. For this, we're going to have to start the vehicle. Once the vehicle's running, we're going to firmly apply the brake pedal approximately 10 to 15 times, and then turn off the engine. Now that we have the engine off, we're going to put the key back in the on position without the engine running. We're going to turn the steering wheel all the way in one direction till it stops. Once you're there, pause for approximately 2 seconds and turn all the way in the other direction. Once you're at that lock point, pause there as well. 2 seconds, then turn to the other direction. You're going to repeat this process approximately 12 to 15 times. This is going to help remove any air from in the system. After completing that action inside the passenger compartment, we're back under the hood here. It's time to check that power steering fluid level again. As you can tell looking at this, our fluid level did go down. That's exactly what should happen. As air is making its way out of the system, fluid's making its way in. We're going to top this off. Looking inside here, I can tell my fluid level is very low. Let's take our time topping this off. At the bottom of the dipstick there, just a little bit more. Now, since this vehicle is still cold, it has not been running for an extended period of time, we want to top it off up to the cold full line, not the hot line. There it is. Level's perfect. We'll go ahead and clean any mess in this area. Of course, reinstall the cover. Okay, friend, we finished our installation. The next thing you need to do is triple check the belt to confirm it's properly seated. Make sure you clean any areas so we can check for leaks, close the hood, and take your vehicle for a road test. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.